DorkLair.
Welcome to another DorkLair collecting video. Today I'm taking a look at some custom pieces from My Action Figure Customs, a website that produces custom unpainted 3D printed items, and you can usually sort of pre-order them maybe once a month or so, and then they make them to order and they ship them out. Sometimes they do have some painted stuff on there. I'll put links below. I don't think their next sale is for a while. I think their next sale is May 30th, or at least that's their tentative date for it. So this head came in unpainted and then I painted it. This is kind of a new thing for me. I am not a big customizer, but lately I've been kind of drawn to it a little bit more. I've been picking up some supplies, kind of adding to my paint collection. I have done model kits in the past, and I've done a little bit of paint work and stuff like that, but nothing to this level where I've like built it up from the bottom up. But yeah, so this is the screaming vampire head that they had. It's a pretty incredible piece. The sculpt is amazing. The sculpt is by Siba Dom, and his name will come back up again. And at the end of the video, I'll kind of walk you through some of the paints and things that I used for this and where I got the ideas. It's from a guy named Dennis Derby, who on Instagram is City of Gray Harbor. So I'll shout those guys out again when we get through it. So again, My Action Figure Customs is basically a website. It's myactionfigurecustoms.com. I would follow them on Facebook, Instagram, get their updates, their heads ups. When they put stuff up, it's usually they'll say, okay, tomorrow we're going to put stuff up for pre-order, and then they'll have it up for a couple of days or whatever, and then it'll be gone, and you'll have to wait. Sometimes they reproduce things. Like, I don't think this is the first time they've done this head sculpt. I think they've done it in the past. And this is, another run of it. But let me show you some of the other items that I picked up. This was a different sale, but I also very, very close to that sale. I picked up a torso that's a double torso. And this one was designed by William Robert Post, who is the owner of My Action Figure Customs. And then Siba Dom also did some work on, I guess, updating this one. It's basically a variation of the Mythic Legion's body. Basically, pretty much everything they do on there is compatible with Mythic Legion stuff. And then another one that I picked up was this sword right here. And this sword is by a digital sculptor named J.D. Lake. So, yep, I'm going to paint this one up. I think I got to clean up those little pieces in between there. But a pretty cool looking sword, just to add a little variety to the Mythic Legion's sword collection there. And then, let's see, so this giant head right here, this will go on Bolthor the Tower. This is going to be my most challenging piece because I'm going to try to paint this flesh tone and match the flesh of Bolthor the Tower to have, just a giant head sculpt. It's got a ball, but I think I need to clear it out a little bit. I'm probably going to have to get a Dremel tool because it doesn't fit on there. So I'm going to probably have to clear that hole out a little bit so that it'll fit. But otherwise, yeah, this is probably going to be my most challenging piece, and I'm going to save this one until I feel like a little more confident with the paintwork and stuff. Let's see, what else did I get? So the other thing I got was, so this giant head, by the way, is by Arlen Pelletier, and I believe he's on Instagram as Arlen Pelletier. And then also by Arlen Pelletier is this pelt, like over-the-shoulder pelt. And then you'll see it has like a slot for a sword. So that's pretty sweet as well. I don't think this one will be too hard. I think I might do this one fairly soon. So these two pieces are by Arlen Pelletier. This goes on a regular 1.0 Mythic Legion's body. And this goes on the 9-inch giant scale, ogre scale. And then I also picked up this pile of skulls, just like a diorama piece as a pile of skulls. I've already primered this one. That's why it's different. You can see it's also gray. But yeah, so this cool pile of skulls, and you'll see that there's holes in there, and they actually included a little tea light, little electronic tea light with it, so that, once it's all said and done, you have a little flickering light in there, glowing eyes, skeletons. And this one was sculpted by Lee J. Robinson. So that's the second one I'm going to work on. because again, this, like the vampire head, I think this will be a fairly straightforward piece to do as a beginner. I don't have to match any tones. I can just be kind of creative with it and, just make skeleton colors. Yeah, so those are all the pieces. And again, when I did this, I really searched around the Facebook group Mythic Legions Cabal to see anybody who was painting them, and I got lucky, and a collector customizer named Dennis Derby, who goes by City of Gray Harbor on Instagram, actually kind of listed out what he did, and I kind of took that and did my best to recreate the techniques that he used, and I ordered some of the supplies that he recommended. And so I'll walk you through what I did. I think he does things a little more complexly than I do in terms of shading and building paint upon layers and stuff like that. But this was fairly simple. This wasn't like super technical. I had to get a little precise when I got into the mouth, teeth, and eyes. But other than that, it's sort of just like washing and dry brushing generally. So the first thing I started off with, I used the same primer for this skeleton pile, this skull pile, as I did for the vampire head. Some people use like the Tamiya fine detail primer. Some people use, various primers. But on the recommendation of Nikki Nicole, whose account on Instagram is Nikki Nicole _customs, really talented customizer, and she has some walkthrough videos that I kind of got some basics on, and this was a good recommendation because I like the starting point that this gives you with the wraith bone. Okay, so the thing that really gives the color on this particular paint job is this Citadel contrast color, and this was straight up the recommendation from Dennis Derby. It's kind of wash-like. It's a whole line of paints from Games Workshop for their miniatures, and it makes kind of like making easy sort of detail work on figures. It's a little thicker and it goes on in a very particular way, but this is contrast color Guilliman Flesh. Now I thought it was going to be a little fleshier, but it almost comes on brown, but that was okay, especially because I was trying to have it work pretty well with that armor, and sort of a darker color I think makes sense there. And then plus the next step, basically I took this and sort of painted sort of the entire head lightly, and then what happens is you have sort of a dark, like a light brown on the raised surfaces, and you have a darker brown down in the recesses and the cracks and the wrinkles of the skin and stuff. And then on top of that, I mixed this with a couple other colors, like very small amounts of other colors, to turn this into kind of like an ivory color, and dry brushed pretty much the entire head. So that's sort of where I am when you look at most of the head. That's basically just the Guilliman's contrast and then this ivory dry brush over the top. And if you're wondering about what those techniques are, you can just kind of look up dry brushing and washing, and it's not quite a wash, but it's very similar, because it's not detail work, it's just going over the whole thing. And then I used, again on Dennis's recommendation, I used this I used another contrast color. I'm not sure specifically what he used, but I found basically blood color from Citadel, and it's also a contrast color, and I used that in the mouth. I also used a little bit of this Tamiya clear red that I had when I did my Grievous model kit. So this kind of gives it a more of like a shinier, wet look to it, and I also have some clear gloss as well that from Tamiya, that things that can give it a little bit of a glossy look. And when I did the wash for the outer part of the eyes there, I basically took some of this, watered it down with I just basically watered it down, made a wash, and it came out a little bit shinier because it had that sort of gloss paint mixed in. For the teeth, pretty much the same thing. Like I used the ivory sort of color, and then on top of the teeth, I used some of this that I had on hand, just some brown wash. This Panaline accent color from Tamiya is basically a wash, and It's got a little brush inside there as well. It's pretty handy if you just want some quick, easy to use washes, but you can just make your own wash as well, and it's a lot cheaper just because you probably have some brown paint on hand. If you have, you know, a set of paints, I have this set here. I forget how much it was, maybe 20 bucks, but a lot of people really like these Vallejo paints, and I got just a basic mix of colors there. So yeah, I mean, that was pretty much it. I kind of, to run through it, I essentially quasi-washed with that Guillemot's Flesh most of the head sculpt, and then I dry brushed on top of that. I did sort of detail work with very fine brushes to get in the mouth. I used the ivory on the teeth, and the teeth were already like that Wraithbone color, so it wasn't a lot of work to get the teeth right, but there was kind of like this constant give and take between messing up some red and getting it on the teeth, and then messing up some white and getting it in the mouth, and you know, just kind of getting it right as I brushed over the little like mistakes I made and stuff. The eyes were tricky. The eyes themselves, I was gonna maybe, let me get this head off. I was gonna maybe do like a bright color and have them look glowing, but really what I ended up doing was taking pretty much the contrast blood, the same as the mouth, and then I just put a dot of this, no, not purple. I put a dot of this black red in the middle of the eye there. You can just barely see it, but it just made the eyes a little bit darker, a little bit richer. And then you have that wash with red around the eyes. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Now the head, this particular head comes with a piece right here to get it to fit on this. So this will go on top of this ball right here. But it's a tight squeeze, and I haven't actually sealed the head yet. I ran out of like a matte finish type stuff to seal the head, and so I don't want to force it on and like really like manhandle this thing yet because it's not sealed yet. So yeah, so that's pretty much it. I highly recommend giving it a try. You know, you could get a head that doesn't have an open mouth, and it would be a lot less work because you wouldn't have to paint the inside of the mouth and the teeth a different color and stuff. But keep your eye on My Action Figure Customs if you want to give it a shot. There's lots of other places that you can order custom items and custom 3D printed things, and a lot of stuff out there. A lot of easy ways, easy like inroads to customizing if it's something that you've been thinking about. And yeah, I highly recommend My Action Figure Customs. You just have to wait a little while, and if you want something very specific, it's tricky. It's kind of like the same thing with Mythic Legions, where it's like just kind of go with the flow and just check out what they have and pick your 1 or 2, 3 favorite things and grab them, rather than sit there and be like, oh man, I really hope they re-release that Screaming Head, and I'm not going to order anything until they re-release it, and who knows when they're going to do that again. Your best bet is to just grab something interesting, give it a try, and you never know. Contact me on Instagram if you have any questions about it. Again, I am a very beginner, so you know I might not be the best option for guidance here, but there's lots of people in the Mythic Legions Cabal Facebook group. My Action Figure Customs has a Facebook group. Just lots of great resources out there, a lot of YouTube videos. I pretty much end up looking at miniature painting videos because there's not a lot of action figure painting videos out there, but there's a few. But for the most part, I get a lot of tips and stuff from miniature painting, particularly when it comes to like building dioramas and stuff like that. but thanks for watching my video. Remember to check me out on Instagram at the DorkLair. And until next time, may the force be with you.